Howdy doody. Welcome to episode 222 of TDI. This is Dr. O on the horn to start per usual. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host, my best friend, and Arnold Schwarzenegger, aficionado, Ricky Flicks, big review, throwback style, bringing back the Doc Talk. We have Arnold, a three-part documentary coming to Netflix June 7th, starring the man, the myth, the legend, right? Taking you through the three chapters of his life that we absolutely cannot wait for. Definitely going to have that review too. But Ricky, are you excited to talk about one of the most beloved documentaries ever made?
I understand it now. I've never seen it before. I've only seen like clips, some of the famous clips, but this is my first time ever watching it. And yeah, this is a rewatchable. This is one that you're gonna revisit, and it's a little campy. It's a little sometimes it feels like, yep, that's in the 70s, a little corny, but it's just full blown like comedy mixed with just like you're just in awe of these guys and their aura and the birth of a like star, the birth of Hollywood, Hollywood in the 80s, like from this one guy. It's insane. This amazing watch, highly recommend. Um, this is definitely like a documentary that doesn't feel like, oh my god, what the Arnold one's gonna be, like a Netflix doc, very well put together. This one's like more like, let's just throw a couple cameras on these guys and just walk around with them. Very on the ground, boots on the ground feel to it, the look of it as well, because the cameras are dog crap. So I loved it. My first time ever watching it, and it's a rewatchable. I will be watching this on a frequent basis on like the rewatchability scale.
Yeah, so you bring up something really important. It's like the idea, like the camera work, it's not great in this. You know, the music is really corny. This movie was made in 1977, but if you told me it was made in like the early 70s, I would believe you, because it almost looks like it's like old and like simple, you know? But I think that's part of the charm that goes with
It
it.
looks like I made this in high school or something.
Yeah, and like the music that goes with it, it just gives the vibe of the movie you're watching that the PE teacher rolls out like the TV,
Yes.
yeah, puts in the VHS and then lets it ride. It's the same movie that they've been showing for the last like 20 years to their students, you know? And I can't believe this is like the first time you ever watched it. This is one of my favorite movies to rewatch in general, not just documentaries. I find it hard to rewatch documentaries. It's like a lot of times you capture that magic the first time you watch it, like you learn something one time. I don't find myself rewatching murder mystery documentaries, like I real life like crime type of documentaries. But this one, it's the charm and it's like of an Arnold Schwarzenegger who puts this movie on his shoulders. And then it's people like Lou Ferrigno, people that have lasted from this era and to as movie stars, as TV stars, and just as public figures, and like guys like Franco Colombo, who just like is always going to be remembered for pumping iron. And you're right, it's like all about the filmmaker doesn't try and put too much on the narration, doesn't put too much on the music. It's more about these people who are so all in on what they do in such a niche type of sport. You can learn about this industry and about this sport, but it's all about the personalities that come out of it. This is a movie I watch once a year. Like Ricky, you watch your True Detective season 1 once a year. I watch Pumping Iron once a year, and I have been doing it, I want to say, since like my mid college years. And I have to be very selective when I choose to watch it. Usually it's when, hey, I don't know, haven't been at the gym in a while, doing a little too much cardio, maybe, right? I got to pick up a weight every once in a while. And I see like the freak that is Arnold Schwarzenegger on screen, and Franco Colombo, and Lou Ferrigno, and Mike Katz and company. And I'm like, dang, I'm hitting the dumbbells tomorrow. Just gives me that motivation I need. And I know I will never be able to attain the look that they have. I don't think I want to, but the drive and the passion of these guys, it's something to behold.
Yeah, like this, the workout montages were really good.
Yeah.
I would say they're not perfect, and a part of that is the music. The music, I think, is a big flaw in the movie or documentary. But besides that, like these montages are something that if you ever need motivation to go to the gym, just chuck this on. and maybe put on the Rocky soundtrack instead in the background, and then you'll be fine.
Yeah, and I think like Rocky comes out mid-70s. This is 77. It's like Stallone is going with the sequels to Rocky. He's getting even bigger. I think that
Right.
also plays into this era of the bodybuilding age. And it felt like when you're seeing in 1977 and you see how big these dudes are, right? And then they show like the flashbacks of like even just a decade earlier, and these like people like Lou and company that just grew up buying these magazines, dreaming about becoming these like icons. They didn't look like they do right in this movie. And I think like you mentioned the music being a flaw. I mean, they don't bring up steroids once in this documentary.
I yes, I
It's
I
just like that
have a
was like a
lot of questions.
I feel like that's just a hovering question about these bodybuilders. And this is like the sudden transformation where people like literally dropped their jaws dropped when you saw how like different and how like literally freakish looking these dudes were. And how could you not just bring up the fact like, yeah, they're probably injecting themselves with something to make them
It's
bigger than the average human being?
it's the biggest topic of interest to us relevant these people. Like it is, and you don't mention it once. And at one time they mentioned they showed like Lou Ferrigno taking an assortment of pills on his bedside table,
Yeah.
but they didn't mention steroids. Nobody talked about it, and that's like the glaring thing that everyone associates with bodybuilding. That and probably cycling and
Right.
doping. So it's like imagine in Lance Armstrong documentary they don't bring up steroids
And it's like
or
accepted in their
doping.
sport. It's like not even
Right.
illegal. Like it's like literally you
It
do this. It's like you do this in order to keep up with the other athletes. And it's almost like cycling where it's like everyone's doing it. So it's like if Arnold, who's 7-time Mr. Olympia, if he like is taking these steroids, it's not like they're gonna strip him of his title because everyone's taking steroids.
right.
It's like literally he's just the best at working out and taking steroids.
And like
It's still the GOAT.
and like so like this documentary clearly is promoting the sport and it's a big reason why the
I
sport
was gonna
took
say
off.
that's
So
probably
like
why
they
they didn't include that.
but this show this had so many scenes and like the Arnold interviews to make him look like such an a-hole and like other things like that. But it's like, oh, you could have incorporated in a way to kind of go along with the comedy that you're doing,
Mhm.
to not make it look bad, as in like bad to the sport. Instead, make it in addition to Arnold saying like it's like going to the gym, getting a pump is better than is like sex. Like you could have stuff like that
Uh-huh.
with steroids. Like there's so many different avenues they could have took, but it just for me it just goes to the point where overall the filmmaking in general wasn't very good. Like these guys, like that's why like the home movie feel is there because it doesn't dive into those deep topics. This is just showing you who they are and following them around. And to be honest, like that's all we really needed because look, we're talking about it today.
And like you bring up Arnold. Let's talk about Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like he is the figure that people like come to know, obviously, on a large scale, on a global scale from Pumping Iron. And when I was watching this again, every time I watch this, I think like Arnold Schwarzenegger was a rock star before he was a movie star. Like he had like the charm, obviously the good looks. He's got this broken accent, but still knows how like to establish humor. He's this dude who just has girls draping over him, drooling over him, and you're right, he's confident, he's cocky, but he also has like this competitive nature that you don't always sense because he's so cocky. He feels like he could just roll out of bed and be successful, right? And he kind of did that. But at the same time, like he'll go to Lou Ferrigno, he'll work out with him the night before a big competition, and then he just says, "I'm just doing this to get inside of his head." The entire time. And Lou Ferrigno, he's just the type of dude that I just like look at him and I hear him speak. I'm like, this is the most gullible guy on earth. Like it must have been so
Yeah.
easy for Arnold to be like, just say something to him. And like the Lou Ferrigno in this documentary is so young, right? And it's so
So
sad when
young.
his dad's talking with him and saying, "Oh, you'll be back next year, right? You're so young." And it's so sad that he never wins a Mr. Olympia,
Never.
but he is the Hulk. Stop calling me Hulk. But no, I was just gonna say Arnold competitiveness too. Like, dude, one of the parts that really blew me away, it's Arnold when he's talking, getting interviewed, and he's talking about the story where he's competing Mr. Olympia. It's like in the middle of his run, his dad dies, and like his mom wants him to fly home to go see his dad, and then he refuses to go to the funeral because he's in competition mode. Like that is a freakish competitor, and like something that where it doesn't really come across until that moment where you're like, wow, it's just like that's how much he devotes his life to it. And he's just so accustomed to winning that you just like you kind of forget how much of like I'm going to do whatever it takes to be right the champion of the world year in and year out. He was Jordan before Jordan in his sport.
Yeah, I'll say this. So with documentaries like this, I always like, or not, and just documentaries in general. Afterwards, I always look up like fact check stuff, because like this documentary is not all like there's like they planted a couple things in this doc
Some
for
was
like
scripted.
comedic effect, and that was scripted allegedly. Like the director doesn't say it, but in so many words, Arnold said that was scripted.
Mm-hmm.
So like he said, because like allegedly a guy in France that Arnold met on one of the previous years, he actually skipped his own like this random dude, other bodybuilder. He skipped his father's funeral to train, and Arnold thought that was a cool story and something that would like be helpful for this documentary. And
Oh
like
no, that didn't happen.
so, like allegedly, that's like the
Oh,
situation.
I just said that was like one of my favorite parts of the whole
I know,
documentary. Oh my god, that is crushing if
but
that's not true.
the
That's terrible if it's actually not true.
I know,
That's god
I
awful. And
know.
they let him do that, and then he agreed to do that. That's
Well,
messed up.
but the director's holding like steady, saying like, no, that's true. But then there's like been like reveals saying like, yeah, that's probably not true.
That's absurd if like that was scripted. I can't believe that. But I would also say talking about people like from this era, like this put them on the map, right? Like Lou Ferrigno puts him on the map. He ends up like starring in Hulk, like the TV show Hulk, as the Incredible Hulk. And then Arnold always seemed like he had just that natural transition to movies. You know, sometimes you would say like, okay, 7-time Mr. Olympia. We know like you're gonna look good on screen. We'll just put you right. Almost James Cameron's gonna use him in a way, right, where he is going to be like this freak or this like almost alien type figure. This someone that's not of this earth, or that someone's a robot. This person can't be real, but he has charisma. He's funny, right? It just seems like he's a lot more personable than like a lot of these other people that try and transition from bodybuilding to movies. Like you just could tell from the interviews he had how relaxed he was, how comfortable he is, that he was
Yeah.
going to be a movie star. It just seemed like it was inevitable. And I wonder because like after Mr. Olympia 7, didn't he retire? Didn't he go to movies right after this?
So yes and no at the same time. Like
Explain.
he right after this Mr. Olympia, it was 1975, I believe. This was like based in the movie 77.
Mhm.
But after that, then yeah, he transitions over to Hollywood. But like there's a weird like time frame where he came back. Like Arnold came back. So like in 1980, it was in Australia, the Mr. Olympia competition, and Arnold was like lifting and preparing to be Conan the Barbarian,
Yeah, it's like
which didn't come out
82, I
till
think. Yeah.
82. But he like he was training hard for it, and he was training and getting his weight back up to like 225, 230, and he's like, crap, like I'm in great shape, and like he was supposed to be a commentator on the broadcast
Uh-huh.
for Mr. Olympia in Australia, so he was already going to the event, and he was like, crap, do I just enter the competition? And this is like I think it might have been the first time. I might be wrong on this part. It might have been the first time that an American broadcaster got the broadcast, and it was CBS, and
Mhm.
it wasn't a live show. It was going to be like like a tape delay. And the day before the competition, he announced that he was going to enter it,
Oh my
and
gosh.
it caused
CBS must have been
controversy.
pissed.
It caused controversy, and like the competitors like were trying to fight him. He was trying to change the rules back to the old way. Like there's a
Oh my
huge
god.
like this would have been a sick documentary in itself. And it got so like heated after he won, and people were saying that he didn't look good, that he shouldn't even been in the top 3, let alone top 5, but he won because of politics and crap like that. And he's Arnold, and he was like being an a-hole to everybody. And then like everyone like booed him off the stage. Like it was so bad that CBS couldn't broadcast it. And
It should
then
be a 30 for 30.
yes, it should be. And then no American broadcaster has ever been never aired Mr. Olympia for like I don't know decades after that
Maybe
because of
we
that controversy.
like we should do a whole podcast on that. Like literally that. Like we should talk about and pitch our movie idea, like a Wednesday episode. Let's pitch like the Arnold comeback episode for Mr. Olympia.
It's like something that because like Pumping Iron came out, bodybuilding was like holy crap. Like the people that started winning Mr. like Olympia all like looked at Arnold as a god, you know?
Yep, the people in this documentary did too.
Yeah, yeah. So like
It's like literally
bodybuilding,
their competitor with them. They knew they were in the presence of greatness. It's like
yeah.
when Mike, it's like Last Dance where everyone worshiped Michael Jordan that played alongside him, and also everyone just admired him to a point where you are a deity to these people.
Yeah.
That's what Arnold was, and he looked like one.
So like the sport was like gaining so much notoriety and like gaining steam. CBS got the broadcast, like it was gonna be big. And then like 1980 comes around and he kind of like self-destructed, like at least like the potential for making it even bigger with a CBS broadcast. Everyone's getting into the sport. It's kind of crazy.
You
And
kind of
no
have
one
to
talks
bow
about
down
this.
to him though, because he's the one who puts the sport on the map
Yes,
alongside
exactly.
Pumping Iron.
Exactly. Like you have to like let him in. And like people were worried about his legacy because like people are like, yeah, he doesn't look as good as he used to. Like he might only be 75% of what he used to be. He's not like we don't want to ruin his legacy. But then it kind of like it does hurt his legacy, but no one knows about this. Like
Right.
people
What
just think
did
about, oh, he
Ferrigno
won in
did Ferrigno
1880.
compete in that?
No, not in that.
He was-
Ferrigno got the Hulk in the year of Pumping Iron or the year after.
Yeah.
Sorry. So yeah, so like
Literally, that's crazy. Like, that's how they had the Hulk. Like how we have CGI. It's so harshly criticized. We had She-Hulk and everything. No, we had
a
Lou Ferrigno
person.
just be the Hulk. He
Crazy.
that's what they do with these bodybuilders. Like Terminator, we'll talk about obviously with like Schwarzenegger, but it's like these guys didn't look human, so they put him in non-human roles for movies and TV. It's just like they're freaks.
There's another like behind the scenes that I saw about Lou Ferrigno in this, and they cut this scene out in the editing process. He said in this documentary, apparently, and there's a scene I can't find it, but apparently there's a scene where he said like, yeah, like it would be like a dream to play the Incredible Hulk and like be that big.
Oh man,
Like
imagine
he
if they
literally
had
a
that bit in
quote.
that.
Yeah, exactly. But again, like this was like before it, so like
They should be deleted scenes of this. There's got to be lost footage that's somewhere. Maybe look on YouTube. It could be there.
there's probably like some like crazy scenes like behind the curtains, like at the competitions and stuff. It would be so interesting to see.
Behind the scenes of Pumping Iron, like a doc on the doc. We could do that.
Yes.
Like there should be a doc on the importance of Pumping Iron and how it kind of shaped, because like it's gone from promoting the sport, showing that these people are so committed to their craft, but then like how it's like lived on for decades upon decades. And for a movie that looks so simple and kind of sloppy at times, it's still beloved because of Arnold, but because of also Instagram and these people that become like amateur bodybuilders themselves. They talk about, right, the Mr. Olympia competition, but also Mr. Universe with the amateurs and everything like that. And people like Callum Von Moger that like model their lives after these people, you know? And it starts with Pumping Iron, and then it's just like kind of just carried on all the way to 2023. It's kind of nuts. Lou Ferrigno, though, I think there's like three big people that I want to talk about from this documentary, right? So Arnold, Lou Ferrigno, and then Franco Columbu. Let's talk about Lou Ferrigno, because I would argue he's probably like the second, like I guess, star. He's like second build, I would say, for this documentary. And it's something about him where he seems like he's, as I said before, gullible. He's so young here, you know? He's got stupid looking haircuts, stupid looking sideburns, and he seems like someone that is just, sorry to say stupid, but like it's kind of, he comes off a little bit, and then he's got that lisp that he's talking about. And then he was a person that was a fan of bodybuilding as a kid, like when it wasn't popular whatsoever. And seeing his relationship with his dad, it's always touching. It gives like because everyone else is like just like oohing and eyeing over Arnold the entire time. It's good to kind of get away with that. Although it is a weird infatuation that Mr. Ferrigno and Lou had with Arnold. It's wild. Like that, like they were so.
It was a little much.
But it shows how much of a hero Arnold was to Lou himself. And like one of your favorite scenes, Ricky, you can go into it more in a second, but it's just like the motivation that Arnold provided for Lou Ferrigno really came through in the documentary.
Clearly. And the dad retiring from being a cop probably a little earlier than expected, just to train his son to try to beat Arnold Schwarzenegger is an absolute wild story in itself. And it's so interesting, like Italian American family in New York. And again, behind the scenes, the writer of Saturday Night Fever literally saw this and was like, "Oh, like that's how, uh, like John Travolta, like in Saturday Night Fever, that's how his family should be." And literally looked at Lou Ferrigno in this movie and that family.
His dad came across as like someone you would like hear like speak in The Godfather. You know, it's just the way he speaks. It's like, damn, that's like 70s Italian type of dad right there.
Dude, yeah, and like I love like his dad, like he's like in the gym, he's like, "Oh, you're working hard. Arnold's working twice as hard," and like stuff like that. Like, oh, the cliches. But then when they get to South Africa,
Uh huh.
and they're having breakfast with Arnold, and he's just like basically like hyping up Arnold so much, like you're a god, like you look like Michelangelo sculpted you, and all this stuff. It's
Yeah.
like, is he like that obsessed with him, or is he trying to play mind games with Arnold, who's clearly trying to play mind games with them by gracing them with his presence?
I
It's
think
like,
it's the latter.
yeah, right.
Yeah. I used to think as I watched it through his years, I'm like, why is it so weird that he's obsessed with them? But I think he's like trying to help his son out. And he thinks like Arnold thinks he's this almighty figure and he's the one playing with the mind of his son. He's like, no, I'm just gonna like tap in a little bit. It's probably not a coincidence. And Arnold probably was on the right track that like he's trying to like kind of psych Arnold out so he can't so give his son this chance at his first Mr. Olympia.
Right. And it was so weird at the end, like when Arnold wins, and uh, they're like on the back of the bus, Lou Ferrigno, his parents, and then Arnold is
Arnold's
in
like a part of
between.
the family. It's
Yeah,
like, what?
and he's sitting next to Lou Ferrigno and his mom, and then he goes to like Lou Ferrigno, yeah, your mom's gonna like hook me up with your sister.
Yeah, it's
It's
just
like, oh
Jesus
my
Christ.
god, dude, you won, and you retired after this. Like, why are you doing that? And then they both try to get up, and they're so freaking big. It's just like, holy crap, these guys are monsters.
Yeah. I was talking to our friend Mark, and I was just thinking, like, what didn't they show? I'm like, I always something other people probably don't care about is like their diets. Like, what are they
Yes,
putting in their body?
that
Like
steroid thing comes into play there.
I would have been like steroids you could have done. You could have done like, okay, what are you eating beforehand? What are you eating after or during? They show like Lou Ferrigno eating bread, trying to keep up his size and everything, getting his carbs. And I was just trying to think the entire time, like, what do you have to eat to
Right.
maintain that
Like, carbs are
size?
bad, aren't they? Like,
Yeah, I was
what do
just
we like? Give me a
like
diet.
you almost like want to be like you can't be dehydrated,
Is it
right?
like
Because
6,000 calories a day? How much water are you drinking? Because you can't have too much water weight on you if you're going to be like posing all
that's
day.
why this doc is so simple. And it's just like we're just gonna watch these dudes lift. We're gonna watch them, right? Go at it. We're gonna watch them just
Right.
like we're gonna watch them compete, but then we're gonna watch them like inside. We're gonna watch the mind games. We're gonna watch the trash talk and get inside these lives without like going into right the boring stuff, quote
Be,
unquote, the routine. It's more about what do I want? What's the concept of this? We just want to show you this sport and how unique it is.
Yeah, I would say the back half of this doc is much stronger than the front half. Yes, the front half has some great interviews with Arnold, but like it also gets into like kind of the amateur side of it, of Mr. Universe, with Mike Katz and the Wallace guy,
A
and I
little
think it was
boring.
good,
Yeah.
but it's a little boring. And then the back half when you get Lou Ferrigno introduced, and then it gets into the Columbo, a little bit of Columbo, not a lot of shine for him compared to Ferrigno and Arnold here, but it really goes into the like, oh my god, Ferrigno and Arnold, like not just getting more screen time, but also on the screen at the same time behind the scenes is unreal. And I think the one of my favorite scenes, like top three favorite scenes, is when Lou Ferrigno is before they're going on stage and he's trying to get a pump, and Arnold's like, wow, why are you yelling? Why are you so loud? It's supposed to be a church in here. And then Lou Ferrigno's like, Arnold, I'm just trying to get my pump. It's just, oh my god,
Dude, when he's
The-
lifting with his dad, like the one scene that you talk about all the time, where he's like, Arnold,
oh my god,
Arnold. And he's just doing the shoulder presses, and his dad's like
David.
staring him like in the eye from like 2 feet away. It's like
Doc,
such a weird scene,
Yeah.
but also it just shows like, hey, this is the competitive drive. This dude wants
Dude.
to win.
I was at the gym today, like sick brag, but I literally was like, holy crap. I literally like in the middle of a rep, and I was just thinking of Arnold. And then throughout the rest of my time, every time I was doing reps, I was thinking Arnold.
Dude, I'm gonna be working out with you, and like you're gonna be lifting. You're gonna be like, okay, this is fourth set, 8, 9, 10 reps, and I'm like looking at you right at the end. I'm gonna be like Arnold, Arnold, Arnold. Yeah.
That might have been like the
But it's
funniest
just the
part,
way he
actually.
says it, and like, dude, I don't want to. I'm not trying to rip on Lou Ferrigno, but he is so ugly, dude. Like they do zoom in close in on his face, like the gap in his front teeth, and he's grunting and he's sweating everywhere. He's got like the sideburns that are almost like touching, right? His like basically it come halfway down his face. It's almost touching like like his nose. Like it's like so far in. It's like it's like it feels very 70s.
Dude,
You know,
I'll say this. Give him credit for this, dude. When he stand like on the stage together, he towered over Arnold.
oh, he's yeah,
Like Arnold looked so small. You know the pictures, like The Rock is standing next to Shaq, and The Rock looks like he's small. Like not to that extent, but I had the same vibes where like, holy crap, Lou Ferrigno is an absolute monster. And we were just watching Arnold next to all these people at Gold's Gym, the prison scene, which is a sex scene, like all these other scenes where he looks like the monster. It's like, wait, he's like 3-4 inches shorter than Lou Ferrigno and like 35 pounds lighter. It's like, holy crap, there's a clear difference.
It's just Arnold's just sculpted unlike any other person that's ever like been a bodybuilder. He was like made to be a bodybuilder. He looks like a statue when it's so effortless when he's up there. His range of motion when he's working out. I was talking about that with our friend Mark when we were watching it. His range of motion and flexibility is insane for someone that has so much muscle. His flexibility is crazy. It's like this guy shouldn't be able to move. Lou Ferrigno cannot move.
Yeah, no, he can't.
Bowling ball.
He's just a monster.
But the thing about Arnold, it's like his definition is just pinpoint. He's got the tan body, right? And like I would say Columbo actually is almost like more defined and like he's like right up there with Arnold, like more so like defined than let's say Lou Ferrigno. Lou Ferrigno, you could just tell is just the strongest dude there. Right. Yeah. And like Columbo is like the under 200 class. So he's like not in the same as Arnold, but I feel like he could lift just as much as anybody in the room because he's just a monster. He lifted a freaking car, bro.
Dude. So I was like, oh my God, like that's why I like that. We only got that one montage of him. Like Ferrigno, we got into the family a little bit.
Columbo, dude.
We needed more Columbo. And I'll say this, like obviously everyone looked up to
Arnold.
This
is anti-Italian discrimination. We should have got more
Tony
Franco.
Soprano. But at the end when it's Columbo versus Arnold, there was two things I thought of. One was the previous earlier scene when Arnold is like, oh, like Franco's pretty smart, but he's a child and I'm his father. Like I was like, oh my God, this
dude, it's crazy. I wonder how much he actually said this to their faces, or he's just like, I know this is gonna eventually get out there. But I wonder if like any distrust came after this documentary.
Right. But then on the stage when they're both posing, like it's the final duo pose for the Mr. Olympia between the weight classes, the under 200 versus the over 200, and like Arnold's like doing his thing, and then Columbo's like looking over, like trying to see like what Arnold's doing, and he's like following his lead and like stuff like that. It was just like, oh my God, like Arnold's gonna blow him away here just from confidence alone.
Yeah, no, he just had the presence on stage, man. It's just like the cockiness really shined through. Like he just wasn't nervous whatsoever. It seemed like so easy for him when he was flexing. Everyone's like literally bursting with veins out of their face, and like Arnold, he's at the end of it, he's starting to like sweat a little bit, but like he's just like statuesque, like straight arm, perfect bend. It's just like the form seemed like it was just spectacular and it seemed so natural. Columbo, though, let's talk about him. I would argue the late 70s is peak for Italians and notable Italians.
Columbo winning it the next year.
Columbo, John Travolta, Saturday Night Fever. This might have been the peak of Italian like pop culture.
Yeah,
Ferrigno, you could argue also part of this, but like
Godfather's pre this early 70s.
That's 72, 74. But like this might have been like the highlight for Italian, like Italian
pop culture, I would say. Yeah,
the
70s.
I was trying to think about that.
Yeah. Al Pacino is just roaring through the decade,
dude. Yeah, Pacino ripping. Yeah, I'm trying to think of anybody else. Those are like some of our heroes, like Pacino. Franco. Our brother adores. Like Franco.
Oh yeah.
Like he models his life after Franco.
Short Kings, yeah.
Yeah. Also, that's also why I'm a little disappointed they shortchanged Franco here a little bit. A short king.
Italian discrimination, anti-short king discrimination.
Yeah, this is not the way that this was supposed to happen. Like we were supposed to, I'm waiting for the Franco documentary. Just the soul. I just want a Franco
He would be
Colombo
interesting because
documentary.
in Italy there could be
I
some
feel like
really
they
juicy
strayed away
stuff.
from him because he has such broken English that like you couldn't
Yeah,
have many
because
interviews
like
with him.
the guy who finished second, I was like, oh wow, like we didn't mention him once until literally he finished in the top 3 and then the final pose. I'm like, holy crap, this guy is ripped beyond belief.
Mhm.
But I think just because he's in France and like this had
Dude,
the
the
lowest
actor,
budget.
the black guy,
Yeah.
abs were insane.
Insane.
I've never seen such definition like
But
that.
I
It's
think
just
so. Like
insane.
these guys, like this movie almost didn't get made. Like, do you hear about that?
Yeah,
Like,
did the bodybuilders themselves had to raise the money to
yeah,
actually get it
Arnold, dude,
released.
Arnold had to fly out to like an amusement park from LA to like Holyoke, Mass, and
Yeah.
like the director, filmmaker had to told Arnold just to stand with his shirt off and pose, and he was just recording him throughout the day, just like seeing the people just like amassed to him, like not pay, like he was just like a random guy with his like just posing, and people would just like go towards him, and they used that as like promo to get funding from people to try to make this documentary, and they had like an incredibly low budget, so like they weren't going to be able to go out to France to follow this guy, who finished second. I don't remember his name, but like for example, they used Mike Katz, right?
Yeah.
That's his name. In North
Terrible
Branford,
haircut.
Connecticut. Terrible haircut. One of
The
the worst
worst,
haircuts.
the worst haircut on there. Like there's some really
That's
bad
just
haircuts
dumb.
here.
But like it's like, oh, they utilized him because it's like, oh wait, we can keep it within New England and we could just film him on set or at his house. Like that's easy for us, low budget. We just have to travel there. You know, you could clearly see some of those decision making decisions here.
You could tell though. I'm not surprised that like Arnold and like some of these bodybuilders that like made money through modeling and through these other avenues that in Hollywood and like TV, whatever, that they grouped together to fund this because they wanted to shine a light on their sport and there's someone that gave them like a lot of notoriety and they knew like what this documentary was going to eventually do and I don't think they knew looking back like 40 50 years from now like what an impression it has left. And it has like
way better than it's
people in their mid 20s talking about Pumping Iron, a movie from a documentary that was like like a simple documentary that looked like I could have filmed it from 1977. It has a certain charm or magic about it, you know, and they sensed it early on. Thank God that they raised that money. Something else, a little flaw I had. We talked about the music. This movie, there is a an alternate universe where it's nothing but like jock jams, like playing, right? Like when they are lifting, right? What is like when you have these montages instead of like this like elevator type music that's going on. But I think that goes once again with the charm of the movie. It's like, hey, we're just here for the lifting. Like, don't even pay attention to the music. It could be literally. It might have been better if there was just no music. You know, just have it quiet. But just,
I think I rather would have had that than
Wait
in Iron.
Yeah, one of the worst theme songs of all time. We'll talk about that. But I just weights smashing, clanging. You know,
Yeah,
that's all you needed to hear. And then when you throw in the music, I'm just like, Jesus Christ, this is where it's like it felt like a cartoon. You know when
like
it was happening.
Like that one scene, there wasn't music in. There was training. It was Arnold with forget the guy's name, but he's forget his name. But they were doing squats. They're at the squat rack.
The guy with the mustache.
Yeah.
That's also like very much porn star look 70s.
70s. That was 70s look. But no, that guy, like he's like doing like you squatting, and Arnold's like 2 more, 3 more, and like he's like basically saying like no, like I'm good, but Arnold's like no, like you
got to do what Arnold says.
Yeah, and then he literally collapsed afterwards on the ground. I'm like, holy crap, dude! I can't like what if he like
dude imagine that motivation.
Hamstring?
Arnold Schwarzenegger is telling you 1 more, do another one, do another one. I'm just like, yeah, you have no choice. Imagine Arnold telling you to do that. Crazy.
Another thing that I had one of the hardest laughs at was when they're at Gold's Gym and Arnold and all these other guys are working out. Then there's just like that regular guy working out that's a little overweight and like a little mini fro, and they zoom in on him like doing the
white V-neck who's like he's curling 5 pounds.
Yeah, it's just like, and he's like looking at these guys in awe, and he's like, I'm in the wrong place right now. Why am I here while lifting 5 pounds?
Yeah.
It's like, buddy, this is Gold's Gym. All right, go to Planet Fitness down the street.
Right. It's literally surrounded like
Come join Dr. O and Ricky Flicks.
Lou Ferrigno is benching like 3.5 plates, and this guy's just next to him with like 5-pound curls, just next to him, and he's just like staring at everyone.
Just
But
staring like Arnold.
I feel like that's where like that this movie also is very unintentionally funny in so many moments. Like the music, then it's like Lou Ferrigno. It's just like a comedic type of like you just laugh when you hear him speak. When you look at him, it's like terrible to say, but like he's just someone that. And when he wears those glasses that he has,
The
like
glasses,
the transparent glasses with the rims that are transparent. I'm just like, dude, like this is such a weird look to see this huge, massive man wearing these transparent glasses. Excuse me. I was just like, it was just odd to see. Then he makes him look more educated. I will give him that, a little more sophisticated from Ferrigno, but I mean, didn't add much to it. Okay. Any other comments we have about Pumping Iron?
I would just say like Arnold again, like these like some of his lines were just so good. We talked about it throughout, but I think that for him, like obviously this was most important for him, just getting this made because again, like it was tough to get this made, not just because it's bodybuilding, but because Arnold was in it. Like he flopped, and Hercules in New York was a flop. Didn't really he was not doing well in a movie standpoint, box office standpoint. Before Pumping Iron. Pumping Iron like was a phenomenon, and then after, of course, we know Arnold in the 80s and 90s. So like this was really important to him, and what they did throughout this, which I'm not shocked that some of this might have been scripted, like the funeral alleged story, is to get his profile up to see not only is he jacked, but also he commands the screen not just through his body, but also his charisma and personality. And he's smart. He's not like a dumb jock like a dumb jock, I guess is what I would say. Like he actually he can demand the screen, control a movie. And that's what he did here and proved it here. And he not only he did it so well that bodybuilding just catapulted like a rocket or took like a ship to the moon, like insane. So I think obviously biggest for him, but you could clearly see they tailored this movie around Arnold for a reason, and it benefited both parties.
It's crazy that he's like a smooth talker for someone with broken English. It's hard to explain. Like he's like
Right.
someone he's not afraid that he's not great at speaking English. He's not afraid of his accent,
And this
he'll
proved it.
he'll do quips, he'll make jokes, and this made
Milk
me
is for
think
babies.
when I was like listening to him speak, I was like, this guy is so confident and doesn't care how he sounds. He just automatically assumes that he is like the smartest person in the room, the cockiest dude in the room, and I kept on reflecting on this documentary coming out from Netflix with this 3-part one. Like, I'm not surprised he became a politician, right? It seems like he can make it, and like the way he describes his ability to make people believe things that he says, and it's just like, yeah, like it's just people like have. He seemed like a likable guy as well. Like as much as like he's being a jerk in some of these scenes, like my takeaway from this movie isn't like he was a jerk. It's just my takeaway is this guy was meant to be an entertainer and a guy to be in front of other people performing and speaking, even if like his
Sort
early,
of Rock, to be honest.
even if his, that's good. That's a good comparison. And I would also say like Arnold pushing to get this movie in, right? Like bodybuilding, Mr. Olympia, Mr. Universe. They wanted this to come out, and they wanted to have their whole sport built around this guy. It's like the NBA where they notice we're just going to build around Jordan. Like he is the most important thing that we have. And we're going to do anything to kind of bow down to him. That's why like that story that you tell about, what was it, 81, Mr. Olympia had the comeback from Arnold. Was it 81?
80, I think.
80. Like the comeback, I'm not surprised they bent the rules for him because it's like Jordan coming back like from his retirement. It's like we have to do whatever we can to accommodate because this guy means the world to our sport. He's putting us on the map.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like same type of thing. Obviously, just a smaller scale when you think of basketball and bodybuilding. Okay, scores. What do you give Pumping Iron?
Yes, the music off. The filmmaking wasn't perfect. A little lull in the first half, but you can't deny its importance and how like not just important, but again, it goes back to the first comment. The rewatchability of this is like very special, and they hit home on major things. I wish they went deeper. It was a little cautious where they don't dive into deeper topics. But you know what? At the end of the day, for someone that was trying to get introduced to the sport, this is what you wanted to do. And then after you know the sport, you could dive into the steroids and other stuff like that. I'm going 90 90 here.
I'm in the same boat. I was trying to find. I actually wrote a review on Pumping Iron in one of the first couple months we were doing the drive-in, and that was when I was a writer. I was writing a lot of blogs and stuff and reviews. And Pumping Iron, I believe I gave a 90 at the time. And my whole like basis of what I was thinking is like I watch this every year. Like, is this change? Do I like it? What is it? Do I learn about anything new this time? Like, am I looking for any like small hints? Like, the one thing I learned this time is that I'm going to give Mr. Frigno more credit than I had previously, where he's like trying to do whatever he can to make his son successful, trying to get in Arnold's head. That's like cool. That's something I learned a little bit. But you're right. The one thing, along with the music, is I wanted more Franco. I wanted more Franco. That was so just because it seemed like he was a cool character, but he just can't speak on camera. He has to be bouncing off Arnold like another person that's an immigrant coming to the United States and competing in Mr. Olympia and all these different other bodybuilding competitions. I felt like he is someone that is purely known as a bodybuilder and didn't get an opportunity like to go, like when you look back on it, to be in movies. He just like couldn't be in American movies because he didn't speak good enough English, you know? So
Right.
I assume that's what held him back, you know?
Yeah. I also love how like this was on YouTube, Tubi, Pluto for free.
Anyone can watch this.
Yeah, like I love that. And like I think like, there's other like documentaries like this where it's like, oh, like what's the one? The one about Donkey Kong. The coins.
Fistful of dollars, a fistful of coins.
Yeah, like
what is it?
I think it's a fistful of coins, like a play on the Clint Eastwood movie.
Fistful of dollars.
That's like,
yeah.
But that's free on YouTube. This has a similar feel to it, you know, that
Fistful of
homemade
quarters,
feel. Yeah. Quarters.
We should do that one next. I've never seen it.
Oh,
don't wait! Whoa. You can't do that when you just saw Pumping Iron for the first time. You act
but I was just surprised because like I think I've talked about that so much, like, and at least I've seen like a bunch of these scenes, like iconic scenes in Pumping Iron. But like I don't know, you have that same feel with this one. Like it's for free, and it's like kind of like it just shows the sport on a light that you didn't see, you know. And it's just like, hey, it's for free. You don't need to pay for it.
Literally rolls out the red carpet, opens it up to the new world.
Yeah, exactly.
Like come check this out. This is kind of cool. Or this is cooler than you think. That's what it kind of gives off.
Yes.
You know? All right. That's our review of Pumping Iron. That does it for Doc Talk.